you wanted to go by it or not, but I thought it was slow. Okay.
Yeah.
If everybody please stand tonight for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item of business is to establish a quorum, and we have everybody here tonight. The next item of business is to approve the minutes from last month's meeting, which Lynn took over for and everything. So has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Changes or anything like that?
I didn't see any.
I'm going to take a motion to approve minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item of business, anybody that plans on speaking at tonight's meeting, would they please stand to be sworn in by Gary?
You swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
Thank you very much, Gary. We got two items tonight. The first item is a public hearing, a development standard variance to request to allow an accessory garage to be constructed prior to the primary residence on property located at 432 North Washington Street. Laura?
I just asked. Good evening. So this property is an undeveloped lot located on North Washington Street. And Rusty Borders is the petitioner. He's here with us tonight, and he has interest in building his home on the site, but he would first like to build an accessory garage in the back portion, generally in this area back here. Y'all see that? Right in here. So it'll have a 25-foot front yard setback from Jefferson Street. Because of the zoning, it needs to be 3 feet from the side and 3 feet from the rear because it's in an R2C district. So we allow them to be a little bit closer to the lot lines because generally we have smaller lots in the downtown area. But basically the request is to be able to build that garage before the house is constructed. And that's why he needs a variance. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, we can turn it over to Rusty.
Does the garage have to be a certain size?
It is limited to not more than 50% of the square footage of the principal structure, 15-foot mean height, and then the setbacks is the other. So we do regulate the bulk and size.
This is similar to the April meeting where Joe Wilson was granted a,
That's the same, exact same request,
He
yeah.
was
The
gonna build a
principal
garage
is
and then-
being built later and the garage comes first, yeah.
did we, I wasn't at that meeting, was there a stipulation as far as he had a year to build the house, or?
He had already gotten under contract for the house, so we knew that was coming. In fact, we were issuing the building permit within a few days. I can't say the same for Rusty, so maybe you can get assurances from him about when he plans to build the principal structure.
Because that was one of the concerns I think we talked about was what kind of, and you sometimes said, I would tear it down, that's not, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But do you have any concerns about that or a time frame?
I would like to have some sort of assurances from the petitioner when he expects to build it and the principal structure. And if he can't do it in whatever time frame you feel, like a year, then require him to come back and explain why he wasn't getting the house done. So I can tell you, we've dealt with Rusty a lot. He's built a lot of things in town. Haven't had any issues with him before, up until now. So, yeah, he may have an answer for you about when that's going to happen, but it's just something to keep in mind. If he says, I'm not going to do it for 5 years, you might want to think differently about it. Lynn's laughing. Okay,
Any other questions for Laura? Thank you.
okay, thanks.
Rusty? Please.
Well, I guess my only question is, you're not asking for your height, and you're not planning to build it more than 50% of the
No,
size of the
that's it.
structure? Primary.
Right.
Do you have a time frame for the house or anything like that?
Yes. The idea is to build a garage. I've got a lot of power tools. I got a wood shop. I make a lot of stuff for myself and everything like that. I do a lot of wood carving, furniture making. The tools are extremely heavy, and they need to be in an environment. They're, very expensive power tools. The idea is to get the garage built and put those tools in there, completely empty my house, and put them tools on there. I don't plan on starting that garage until I got my house on the market and going good. I know the market is extremely good right now, but to be truthful with you, I live in the parks of Prestwick, and they take a little bit longer to sell. So I'm going to hold back until the last minute. I don't want to go around dropping $50,000 in a garage just to have to sit there and, and have all the stuff back at home waiting for me to move. But then again, it's so much better for me to have that, because if I didn't, I'd have to move everything twice. And those things, they're 800 to 1,000 pounds, each one of those tools. They're just ungodly heavy. But as far as assurance, I'm moving there. But I'm just not going to build it or start it until I know I got something going on in my house.
Well, if he gets approval of this tonight, he's got a year to start that garage.
It depends if you put a time frame.
So, if you issue a permit, he's got a year.
If you were to pull a permit tomorrow, then yeah, there would be a year
Yeah.
before, if he did no work on it at all.
But otherwise, the variance would be good forever?
Yep. Limitation on it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
This time I'd open it to the public. Anybody that wants to speak on this case or anything like that? I'm going to close the public part of it and open it to amongst the members here for any comments or discussion or motion. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the variance sought by Rusty Borders and BZA petition 18-09 to allow an accessory garage to be constructed prior to the primary residence on property located at 432 North Washington Street. The petition has satisfied the requirements for variances under state law for the following reasons. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community for the reasons stated in petitioner's proposed findings of fact, and the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner for the reasons stated in petitioner's proposed findings of fact, and the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property for the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed findings of fact. And I move that the approval be made subject to the following condition. The primary residence be started within a year. Come back to the board after that.
And within a year, after he starts the garage?
Well, to start originally, construction of the home within
That's not what he said. That's why I
a year.
asked.
The house.
Start the house,
Within a year. Yeah.
or you'd have to come back.
Just, to be honest with you, I can't even. Don't even want to.
want to be practical for you. I guess I just need to know how to back out of that or change my condition. We probably don't want to have it just out there until whenever, but we don't exactly know what to stipulate.
You're allowing the garage to be built and established.
But another way would be with 1 year at the start of the
Works
Yeah.
for you.
I'm okay with that if I don't trip over it. So if we back up, move that the approval be made subject to the following condition that the garage will be started within 2 years, 24 months. To give him the time to,
I think what I heard was that
Year
the
from-
house needs to be started within 1 year of the
Year,
garage
garage.
being
of the
constructed.
garage.
Is that what, okay,
I'm not sure if that's what you want, but
Okay,
that's what I heard. I think it
Yeah.
works.
okay.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Gary, if you would, please.
If I can remember your names. Dr. Swords,
Aye.
Mr. Larson,
Aye.
Mr. Tussey.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
It is therefore the decision that this, it is therefore the decision of this body that this variance is approved, subject to the conditions that's made part of the motion. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Good,
Rusty.
you don't have to stay unless you want to.
Okay, the next item of business is for a development standard variance request for the Tractor Supply project located at 16 Ridge Avenue.
Can I ask who seconded the motion?
Me.
Tom.
We can talk about each one, all of them at once or individually?
I would like to, if you don't mind, unless you want to
No,
treat
that's
them
fine, no.
separately. So, go to this one, if you won't mind, first, just for orientation. So, this request is, there's 4 for this particular site for Dan McCarthy, who's with us tonight, from STNL Development, and they are actually also in the process of subdividing this tract. It's a 6-acre parcel, and it's going to be subdivided into roughly 3-acre parcels. So they'll be occupying about 1/2 of that. For the Tractor Supply project, their 4 requests are for fence height of their enclosed outdoor storage area, pole sign height, and then 2 types of landscaping relief. So taking the first one, which would be fence height. Suzanne, if you could pop to the next exhibit, there we go. These were provided by the petitioner. And just for orientation, the post office is over here. This is Main Street across the top with the fairgrounds up here, and then, of course, Walmart, as it's indicated.
So there's going to be something to the north of this,
There,
potentially?
there is something planned for that property there.
That front's Old 36.
Yes. So this would be the building itself, and it's facing east towards the post office. This is where the pylon sign is, and then this is the outdoor storage area, and so they want to have a 8-foot chain link fence around it. The ordinance currently allows for 6 feet in commercial districts, so this is slightly higher, and if, as you see from their request, it's due to the type of product. Some of it is tall. And again, Dan can speak more to that specifics. I'm not sure that an 8-foot fence will materially make a difference to anybody driving by, whether they see a 6-foot or an 8-foot tall fence. It is commonplace. I have looked at other Tractor Supplies. So they do at least have it on this side of the building, so as people are coming in from Ridge, you're not immediately seeing just all that chain link. So you'll get a glimpse of it as you're coming this way. But, so you'll see maybe a little bit here. We do allow up to 8 feet in our industrial districts, just in case you were wondering if we do allow it anywhere else. And at least it's not in the front yard. Questions for me about that one?
Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Laura.
Dan, you want to come up, you want Dan to come up on this one?
Yes,
All right.
please.
Good evening.
Pointer needed.
Thank you very much.
I got any questions for Dan, or do you want to say anything about it or anything like that?
Sure. This is a prototypical site for Tractor Supply. We do prototype development for them. The fenced outdoor display area generally are unique SKUs that are displayed. It's not just a storage area. So there will be shoppers that go out into that. You can see that there's a drive aisle for customers to pull directly in so that our service associates can help load into directly into their vehicles. The reason why we have an 8-foot fence as a prototypical standard for Tractor Supply is there will be fencing materials that stand up higher than 6 feet, and it looks a lot better to have a fence that's 8 feet tall than it does to have fencing material stacked and stored that extends beyond the 6 feet height. We also will have some racking displays near the building, and the extra fencing helps just match that height rather than having that stacking materials extend up and beyond the height of the fence.
Questions for Dan? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
This time I'd open it for the public. Does anybody want to speak on this petition? Okay. This time I'll close it to the public and open it to discussion amongst the group here. Okay. This time I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance sought by Dan McCarthy on behalf of STNL Development LLC and BZA petition number 18-10 to allow a fence to be constructed in the side yard with an overall height of 8 feet on property located at 16 Ridge Avenue. This petition has satisfied the requirements for variance under state law for the following reasons. One, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare of the community for reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed findings of fact. Two, the use and value of the adjacent area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected of its substantially adverse manner for the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed findings of fact. And the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of property stated in the petitioner's proposed findings of fact. And I move that this approval be made to no conditions.
At this time, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Gary, if you would, please.
On a roll call vote, Dr. Swords?
Aye.
Mr. Larison?
Aye.
Mr. Tussey?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
It is therefore the decision of this body that this variance petition is approved subject to the conditions, which there were none. Much. Laura, if you would please on 18-11.
Request is for pole heights, pole sign height. As you can see here, this is the proposed pole sign. Currently in the general business district, the limitation is 16 feet overall. This request is for 30, so it is significantly over. Could you please take it back to the original site plan with the blue dot on it? Yeah. So you can see why the petitioner might be wanting it. If you're at this location here, your line of sight through the Walmart. Walmart measures on my software to be about 22 to 24 feet tall, give or take. So there's going to be some obstruction There's also going to be development on this lot. There's things in the works for that one. Can't say about that one either. But, so things are starting to cook around this site. So that's going to further restrict visibility. Now, Walmart does have a monument sign here, here, and in the back. Have you gotten secured space on those signs? Okay. So there are spaces on it for those future development of outlots.
Where is the Walmart sign that's 24?
They have one here and here
Those are monument signs.
and back here.
though.
They're large monument signs, yes.
There's not a pylon.
No. But they do have individual spaces on them for other tenants. So Walmart will probably lease them.
You gave us examples of
Yes.
pylon signs. How old is that one in the Old Farm Shopping Center? That's been there forever, hasn't
It's very old.
it?
It's very old.
Yeah. And the Hardee's has been there as long as I've been here in town.
Yeah. Hardee's is probably the newest one. Well, no, maybe CVS is maybe the newest one of those. I think I gave you
That was
three,
before
yeah.
we had the sign ordinance, 16-foot.
Yes. Yeah, all of those were created before the 2000 sign ordinance was put into place. So those were all
And then-
existing.
Then we updated that 4 or 5 years ago.
We've done a couple of updates, and I think 2009 was the last sign ordinance update. Time flies.
Oh.
Yeah.
The thing I'm concerned about a 30-foot sign is, if you go down the street, we told Schaefer Collision Center that they had to lower their sign back in December, I think it was. So I kind of have a problem with giving Tractor Supply a 30-foot pylon sign when we told somebody in December they had to lower their sign to bring it into compliance. So as far as I'm concerned, I want to be even-handed with everyone that comes.
And I respect that, but everybody comes to you with a different set of circumstances.
Yeah, I know.
They're on Main Street with high visibility. This one is a little bit more restricted, because there is going to be another building on the other side and on the front. So eventually, it's going to get obstructed, not entirely, but those are the things that you weigh out when you're thinking, well, this case does have some different distinctions than the other location.
So if this was, you'd have maybe a different opinion if it was out on the other lot to the north and,
Yeah.
and same
Absolutely.
direction of that,
Yeah.
so it's just where,
Yeah, because it doesn't necessarily need the increased visibility when you're right on Main Street. So that's how I'm looking at it. Maybe 30 feet is too much. Maybe you want to see if the petitioner would agree to something lower. But I just want you to think about what's going to happen when the rest of this is developed. And that we do want to encourage development in town. We don't want to prohibit it, and there are reasons for variances because not everything fits every situation. So that's why they have the right to come before you and plead their case.
At least it's not 39 feet.
It's not 30, it's not Hardee's, right?
I think of these signs as something that you see out on the interstate. See them a good ways away.
Well, I kind of made my case. I think Dan should come up and,
And one other thing is that probably if we approve that, that sign's going to be there forever, like the Hardy sign is.
it'd be great. That means that business is doing well in that location. And they're paying taxes and assessed value for the town.
anybody else have any questions for Laura?
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you, Laura. Dan, if you would, please. Any comments you want to make, or before we might have questions or something?
I would say as a representative of the future landlord of Tractor Supply, I sure hope it's going to be there for a while.
Quite honestly,
The way, the rationale for why we are here presenting our case is strictly to make sure that they're going to be there for a while. If we were on Main Street or if we were on 36, we wouldn't be here asking for a 30-foot pylon. We're strictly here because of the unique position where we will be sunk, as Laura mentioned, we will be sunk behind a building. There will be development of our remainder lot after it's split, and we will be blocked. And we have a lot of concern. Typically, Tractor Supply, I do a lot of site searches all across the Midwest, and we generally look at arterial pathways. Traffic counts are very important to us. And this actually was approved through Tractor Supply based upon the traffic counts on 36 and Main Street. And our issue is if there's no real visibility and there's no way of knowing that we're back here, we're tucked back here, then it really could hamper our projected sales, Tractor Supply or tenants' projected sales. I would respectfully mention that what Laura said earlier, where I hope that you take into consideration that this is a unique scenario where there are no boundaries of our future parcel on any arterial street. We only have frontage on Ridge Road, which we consider a connector thoroughfare.
So there's going to be two other developments on that.
There will be. We do not have control of the remainder lot, which is the lot fronting, I'm sure you're aware, but this section here, there will be a lot split line that goes approximately right here. The seller is retaining that portion, and it's my understanding that he's pursuing a user for that, and that could happen sooner rather than later. We don't know. But I think that it's a good location, and it would make a lot of sense for that to be developed. And when it does, it will block our building.
Also have the potential of buildings being built along 200 to the east of you in that big lot.
That's right.
That would also tend to block.
It would. That's right. And earlier, I think it was mentioned a question about why the height, and Laura hit the nail on the head. We selected the height based upon Walmart's building's height.
About 6 feet, say 6 to 8 feet. But it'll be above the Walmart store, something like that.
That's right.
And
Mine-
that's the
mine
top.
are estimates,
That's the
so-
top of the sign, too, correct?
Yes. 30-foot is,
Top
request is the top. of the
Elevation
sign.
of the property.
Bottom of the sign.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
This time I'll open up to the public again. Anybody that wants to speak? Anybody? So, okay, did you,
You can let him speak, but he needs to come forward and state. his
yeah,
name
if
and
you'd come up and give your name and everything like that, we'd be more than happy to hear what you got, your comments.
Monk, 396 North Indiana Street here in town. What's the standard height of the sign by code now? 16 feet,
Business district.
no business. And from my recollection from the height of TSC alone, that would cause so much. On the back, and then with Walmart there, I would just say that I think granting a variance in this case would be a wise decision. I just was concerned about what the standard was. I didn't know what it was at that point in time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. This time I'll close the public part and open the discussion. This time I'd entertain a motion for this request.
I'll I move that we approve variance sought by Dan McCarthy on behalf of STNL Development LLC and BZA petition number 18 to allow a pole sign to be constructed with an overall height of 3 feet. Property located at 16 Ridge Avenue. This petition has satisfied requirements for variance under state law for the following reasons. B, for the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed finding of fact. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. B, for the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed finding of fact. 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in use of the property. B, for reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed finding. And I move that this approval be made subject to the following conditions. No additional conditions.
This time we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Gary, if you would, please.
Roll call vote, Dr. Swords,
No.
Mr. Larison, Mr. Tussey,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1.
It is therefore the decision of this body that this variance petition is approved, subject to the conditions made part of the adopted motion. Laura?
You'll notice in your handouts that my case summary, I combined both requests since they both were dealing with parking lot landscaping. One is for interior, which would be the landscaping. Can you do this one? This is actually a copy from the site plan. So we normally would require a couple of islands in here, about 5% of the gross area of the parking lot to be landscaped with an island that would have tree or some sort of vegetation. So that would be the interior landscaping relief that they're looking for. And then they are seeking perimeter landscaping on the north and south side. What I highlighted for you here is the landscaping that'll be across the front. They're not asking for relief from that, so they are willing to commit to that much of the landscaping. If I understand correctly, this side's going to have a retaining wall, is that right, Dan? So it's going to be a little bit difficult to put landscaping in there. This side, there's green area in here, and I think there might be a few trees that Walmart did, but then this is the back side, the driveway for their loading docks and semi-access, and then there's the back side of the building here. But the fact that they're willing to put in this landscaping here, to me, is the most important part. That's the most visible part from the road.
There's going to be, that's where the retaining wall is going to be on the north side of
This
the building?
side
Is that-
here. Will the south have it too? Okay. Back here as well? Okay. It's a lot of wall.
What's the purpose of the wall? I mean, is it the grades out there, or? But when, okay.
Going this way.
Does it get into the woods? I mean, are you taking trees down for part? No, so it doesn't
Yeah.
get that far back?
It doesn't go that far.
Sure,
Come on
no.
up.
This condition's been very difficult because there is a storm sewer that runs right here, and there's an easement with it. We had to stay outside of that area. And so in order to get the capacity in the detention area, we had to go down. And so this is approximately an 8-foot wall to create the detention area. Wrapping around here, it goes from 8 to 7, and it drops from 7 to about 2 out here. But this is all wall. And in fact, it's all wall that we initially didn't anticipate when we first designed the project. But this just happens when you have a site that's just unbelievably tight on the other side. So as it relates to, if you don't mind if I just keep going a
No,
little
you're
bit.
fine.
As it relates to the perimeter landscaping, makes it incredibly difficult to really do anything along the north side because all we really have is edge of asphalt retaining wall and property line. On the south side, there are some plantings that Walmart has put in. It's incredibly tight on this side as well, but we also don't really see too much of a need because this is the dock area. It's not really a public view here. So we found that this is the primary area for enhancement, would be, we comply with the shade trees. We also included a number of ornamental shrubbery to kind of balance the shade trees as well. And relative to the interior landscaping, as I mentioned a number of times, incredibly tight site. We have 65 parking spaces. That really is right at our limit. We need those 65 spaces. It does comply with code, but it's right at the limit for a Tractor Supply. So we really did not want to eat into our parking counts. And we're going to need this. On a Black Friday, Tractor Supply will need 65 spaces. Of the locations where you conceivably would say, hey, that could be a landscaping island where we have striped. The reason why that's striped is, STNL Development, we've done over 150 Tractor Supply stores across the Midwest. We're owners of these stores. We operate them. And we just know that interior curbs get chewed up. Our customer base, they drive big trucks and they have a lot of trailers. And this condition right here will have trailers pulling across striped area. It just happens. And so we know that although curbing and landscape islands might look good in this location day one, we know that it's impossible to keep up. It will be crumbled up curbs if we install curbs in those locations.
You got any questions for Dan? Laura, did anyone have any questions for Laura? We kind of switched gears there a little bit. Did anyone have any questions for Laura? Back up a little bit. Okay, all right. Thank you. This time I'll open it to the public. Does anybody want to speak on behalf of these two requests for variances? We'll have two different votes. I think that's what's set up right too. But we're talking about them at the same time, so we'll just go from one to the other. So anybody got any questions or anything? This time I'd close the public part. Discussion or motions?
Make a motion, but I'm not sure. Want to have two motions?
Yeah, we'll do one at a time, yes.
So you gotta.
Guess the first one will be 18-12. I move, I move that we approve the variance sought by Dan McCarty in behalf of STNL Development LLC and BZA petition 18-12 to allow a parking lot to be constructed with no interior landscaping on property located on 16 Ridge Avenue. This petition has satisfied the requirements for variance under state law for the following reasons. One, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community for reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed finding of fact. Two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner for reasons for B stated in the petitioner's proposed finding. Three, the strict applications of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in property for B and the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed finding of fact. I have no conditions.
This time we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Gary, if you would, please.
Roll call vote. Dr. Swords?
Aye.
Mr. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Tussey?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Is therefore the decision of this body that this variance petition is approved, subject to the conditions, which there were none. Next item is, do we have a motion for 18-13?
I'll move. I move move that we approve the variance sought by Dan McCarthy on behalf of STNL Development LLC and BZA petition 1813 to allow a parking lot to be constructed with no perimeter landscaping on the north and south sides of the parking lot located at 16 Ridge Avenue. This petition has satisfied the requirements for variances under state law for the following reasons. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community for the reasons stated in petitioner's proposed findings of fact, and the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a seriously, substantially adverse manner for the reasons stated in petitioner's proposed findings of fact, and the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property for the reasons stated in the petitioner's proposed findings of fact, and I move that the condition be made subject to no further conditions.
This time we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have a second? Gary, if you would, please.
Roll call vote, Dr. Swords.
Aye.
Mr. Larson. Mr. Tussey.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Is there further decision of this body that this variance petition is approved, subject to the conditions, which there were none? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Just a side note, there's an establishment my wife and I attend quite often, that has the best iced tea. Tell you what it is, but they have landscaping in their parking lot area. Knockout roses, and if they're taken care of, they're absolutely good. They don't take care of them, and they are ugly. I'd rather not have any landscape, have something there that they don't take care of.
But don't plant knockout roses. I saw what your landscape plan was. It looks great. It's not.
That is true. We require landscaping, but there's nothing that forces thereof.
Right.
And that does look worse.
True, especially that particular does not.
I'm talking just in general. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You know,
Okay.
the town's guilty of it too. We just got our parking lot cleaned up across from the library. It was pretty bad, but it looks great now. Great now.
Laura, do you have anything for us?
Right now, I don't have any petitions for next month, but the deadline is, we may,
Not planned.
we will be meeting plan commission. Hopefully for site plan. It's being reviewed as we speak.
Very good. We want to get underway here for the,
When would you like to open? When would you like to open?
very good.
This time, entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.